Yo, what's up guys, it's Terrell here from Terrell Game Vlogs, here to bring you first impressions that's relatively late. I actually don't remember when the fuck this game came out. It had to come out in February, I just don't remember when. I think it was like early February. Anyways, I've been playing Bravely Default, and we're going to talk about Bravely Default because I had need to give my first impressions on, what is it? You guessed it, Bravely Default. I think as of now I have about 35 hours put into the game. I think I'm near the end of the third chapter. I say that because I've already beaten the bosses, but I think there's some extra stuff in the background. Like, I'm pretty much in that middle, you know, that section where you end a chapter, but you got to do some of that stuff to, you know, for logically for you to think, okay, so plot. Now we need to figure out how the plot's going to navigate us to the fourth chapter. That's essentially where I'm at. Where I've already done it, I'm navigating to the fourth chapter. My characters, I think, are over leveled because they're in the 40s, and I don't think they're supposed to be in the 40s. I think I just spent a lot of time grinding accidentally, or maybe I'm because I actually kept the battle thing for the most part mainly on, you know, normal and with the encounter rate set to neutral. So let's talk about Bravely Default and talk about some things, talk about my opinions of it. Okay, so first off, story. It's not anything special. I mean, I'm not really inherently geared towards the game in terms of its story. But I do like their characters for the most part. When I say for the most part, meaning, I think the only thing I have a problem in terms of story is that there seems to be like certain portions in which I feel like this would have been done better if there were other elements to push it forward, but they're not, and especially because you can skip certain events, shit won't happen. I'll give you an example. I'm trying to think of one. I'm thinking of the most recent one, and I don't know if that's a spoiler or not. Okay, I'll put it this way. It's told to you at the beginning of the game that the town the main character Tiz comes from is destroyed. Like, we see that in the beginning of the game, alright? All of a sudden, after a certain point in the game, Tiz starts having nightmares. But it's told to us that he's been having nightmares since the game started. But they only tell us this once, and then later on we find out the reasoning why. Which would have been cool if it was built up a little bit better. But for what it is, I guess it's okay. Like, it's kind of like stuff like that where you felt like you get the gist of what they're trying to do, but because it's not necessarily conveyed in the way, and especially because you can skip certain conversations that would expand on the characters. To me, if you're playing this partially for the story, you need to do every fucking thing. Because because I noticed if you were to skip certain, like the party chats that you can ignore or just keep up there, if you ignore those, some of the characters' quirks and personality traits are completely lost on you later in the game. At least that's how I feel personally. If I had to pick my favorite character, I'm kind of gearing towards Adia more than anything, which is weird to me. Because Adia comes off as one of those girls who's been incredibly spoiled her entire life and doesn't really understand the concept of right and wrong to its fullest ability. Actually, I think the latest boss I fought almost re-emphasizes that point with her. Because it's like, you look at things in black and white, you got to understand people all have different views of justice and all believe they're justified in their views. You know, and that's the one thing I do like. I agree with a lot of people who said that the bosses in this game aren't necessarily, like, the bad guys aren't necessarily bad guys in the fullest sense of the word. Yeah, they're the guys you gotta fight, but they're not like the bad guys. Also, it's implied that every bad guy, for the most part, you beat, or at least boss anyway, is dead. I find that really weird coming from children. I don't know why, like, and I think it bothers me more with characters like, actually, I think all of these characters, it just seems weird. No one seems to react to killing these characters as a big issue, even though it's like straight out told to you in some of them. But some of them, it's just kind of like you beat them and they just die, and no one seems to address it. And it's really weird for Adia at certain points, because for those who don't know, Adia's whole setup is that she's like this traitor. Agnes is like the whole magical being of this world who needs to go around activating these crystals so the world can be in a better place again. Ring a Bell is not even phobia, what's the word I'm looking for? A pretty boy amnesiac, and Tiz is like a country bumpkin who's very simple but very helpful and wants to help Agnes. And I'm kind of like, and see, because Adia is quote unquote a traitor, a lot of the bosses and villains we're fighting are people that she knows. But where it kills me is that, like, at certain points when she's fighting them, some of these characters, I would think she would have a little bit more apprehension towards fighting. Like, I'll put it this way: when she switches sides, she switches sides so early in game, it makes her character seem kind of flip floppy. And then the fact that how willing she is to kill some of the people in her own group makes that point driven a lot harder. I'm like, Adia, these people you grew up with, you seem to be a little bit too and I understand this gameplay reasoning. That's the reason why. Because you can't hamper Adia in every fucking fight, or else no one's gonna want to use the character. But at the same time, I'm sitting there looking like, you know, game wise it makes sense, but like plot wise, Adia, you were changing sides and willing to kill your own people that you work with or grew up with, way too fucking easily. Especially considering she flipped, but then again, you find out that Adia is really sheltered. So, which then kind of, I don't know, it's just weird to me. Maybe that's just me, but that's how I feel. But the part about it that people love to death is the battle system. First off, soundtrack is G. I understand why people want the soundtrack. I only got the main version, particularly because I've never played the game before, so there was no reason to spend money. But then again, I did that for Project X Zone and Shin Megami Tensei 4, which is part of the reason why I didn't do it for Bravely Default, because I realized even though I have the soundtracks to both of those games, I have yet to listen to them. Fuck, I have yet to beat either one of those games. One, Shin Megami Tensei just is killing me on either the second or third boss. I'm just like, oh my god, but that's because I gotta go grind in terms of that. In terms of Project X Zone, that shit's just tedious as fuck. It's like fun game, but it gets real. Like the game is way too long for its own good, as if people care about the plot of this game that goddamn much. Like at a certain point, I'm just kind of like, can we just cut this shit off and just finish it already? So that's why I didn't bother buying the soundtrack. But in terms of the gameplay, music is G as hell. The Brave and Default system is really cool. And I thought it would just be one of those things that you're going to just spam to grind, which you can do. But I recommend, if you're going to do the Brave spamming thing to get through fodder, to kind of grind or to get through an area, don't do it in a new area. Why? Because some of these motherfuckers will kill you if you just come in there. Like, I like the fact that the game's not like, oh, if you just fucking attack to win, you're good. Some of these fucking creatures actually take some strategy to kill. For example, certain creatures are immune to certain elements. The most annoying enemy in the game, or at least early game for me, was those fucking mushrooms. I think they're just called shrooms or spores. Because what they do is, if you don't kill them within the first hit or second hit, they just spawn another one, in which the case just multiplies itself until you have a fuck ton of shrooms on the goddamn screen, and you've wasted like all your brave points on each of these damn things, and at the very most you may have killed like 4, but there's like 8 on the damn screen now. Granted, it's a fuck ton of points when, you know, you get it. Like, it's a fuck ton of experience after you've beaten them, but the problem is that you gotta suffer through the grind of them. Plus that, some areas just fuck you over in terms of just environmental hazards, and I'm like, I like the fact that the game doesn't allow me to just spam the shit like I want to. And you know, a lot of people would say, well, it's restricting you, so isn't that kind of not fair? Not really, because you can change anything about the game you want to. You don't want to play with, if you want to make the game unnecessarily hard, you can change the difficulty, you can change how many monsters appear, you can change whether you get experience or money or job points, and you can restrict the shit out of yourself if you want to. If you want to play a Nuzlocke or Bravely Default, you can do that. But if you're a first-time player and you want like a really genuine casual experience, and maybe you really suck at RPGs, you could never run into any wild encounters. This is what you can set the game to the point in which you can't run into encounters. You can change the difficulty on the fly. This isn't at a certain point in the game. Literally, you go to the menu, you can change it any way you fucking want. You can turn off auto-saving or turn it on. This game is really easy to approach because the game doesn't, it's kind of like Fire Emblem in that sense, that it doesn't force you into one thing. It has a casual mode, but it has a hardcore mode. That's why people like it. because it's really approachable and it's really fun. The Brave default system isn't just bullshitted in this like really gimmicky way. No, the bosses using Brave, you need to get the fuck down. And some of them who use default get the fuck down. The jobs all feel different and unique and all have their own like oh shit moments and like oh that's not really a big deal moments. Why? I'll give you an example. One of the later side missions that had a job class in it, the performer class, if you fucking fought that bitch, you know she gives you some shit just because, not even because of her, but because of the fucking minions she has. Because for those who don't know, the performer is kind of like a buffer class, meaning she can't really do too much on her own. Her whole goal is just to beef up the party, meaning she's just a pain in the ass. But the problem is, since you still gotta kill her, it's like you have to figure out a way to incapacitate these two little henchmen that are getting like jacked up to high hell while killing her. And a lot of people, my strategy, and that's the other thing, you can approach these fights in different ways. I know some people who just decide, you know what, I'm gonna have two characters dedicated to killing them, have the other two dedicated to attacking her. Me, I said fuck that, because every time I did that, it just made it worse. Because eventually, you're gonna have to stop and heal one of them, or you're gonna have to do something, or you're going to run out of Brave points. So what I decided to do, I said, you know what, fuck it. We're just going to put them to sleep. And I'm just going to wail on you. And just have, like, a few characters. Like, I have, like, fucking, well, who was it? Like, Tiz and Ringabell just wail on her. And have, like, Adia in the background as support while having Agnes do, like, sleep. And I like the creativeness within the jobs. And I like that you can switch jobs on the fly, and it's not like the game is so overly hard that you can't adjust to a new job. Because remember, the job level's reset, but not your actual level. So yeah, your job might be at 2, but your fucking level's still like 36. That's cool to me. I like the music. I'm repeating myself. I already said I like the music. I'm enjoying the game a lot. I was surprised. I probably would still say Fire Emblem was better to me, but that's because Fire Emblem to me just had more endearing characters. Not to say the characters in this game are bad. I grew more attached to Fire Emblem because I knew they could die on the fly. It's like I'm really only focusing on Adia, Tiz, Agnes, and Ringabell. And I like those characters and I like the development with those characters. But, you know, it's just 4 characters. And then most of the bosses, since they're like usually introduced, you hear some banter while you're progressing through the story, and then you fight them and you kill them and they're irrelevant. They might have like one nugget of truth that you remember throughout the journey, but other than that, they're pretty much done with, and that's kind of disappointing sometimes. Especially because some of these, as I said, some of these villains aren't really villains. They're just people with a different view than you. Which, once again, is an interesting thing about the story. But in terms of really the fall as a whole currently, I have no problems with it. Now, I've heard a lot of positive things. I heard one negative thing. I heard like the last section of the game is some shit. Not even like, not shit, but just some shit. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but for me personally, as of right now, 35 hours into the game, in Chapter 3 going into Chapter 4, I'm having fun with it. And now I'm going to shut off this video after asking you what you guys think about it. I'm going to go play some more Bravely Default. Because I just got the Pirate class, and I feel like pulling out my gum-gums. I swear to God, this shit I saw there was Pirate class. I'm like, yep. I'm changing one of my characters to become a pirate because you gotta put your gum-gums on. I already played the ninja for a while and I put on the orange jumpsuit and shit. Now I gotta put the straw hat on and put my gum-gums on. Shit, it has to happen. The only thing also I find kind of fucked up is that there's a fucking job called slave. It's like either slave master or slave trader. And I'm like, that is... I think I put a post on Mrgrr. I was like, I don't know if I should view this as an accomplishment or not, because it's a fucking slave trader. Like, it's ridiculous to me. But anyways, I'm rambling. But this is essentially all I got to say so far for Bravely Default. I'm enjoying it so far. I'm having fun with it. Please send me your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. 3DS, don't even stop getting games. At some point I want to get Pokemon X because I need to go through another run through that. I know people are like, what about your Pokemon game? I'm going back to it. I'm kind of crossbreeding with some shit. Plus, I still need to finish Shin Megami Tensei 4 and Project X Zone, and I think Luigi's Mansion 2. That's the other one. So gaming wise, I got my hands full. Well, figuratively. Well, actually, literally too. But that's besides the point. Anyways, this has been the vlogs again for your boy Terrell. Please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Life's a game. Wait, I keep doing it. I don't need to say that one. Anyways, peace off. Thanks for watching.